Welcome back, guys. I'm at a different location today, just to kind of sit and talk with y'all about what's going on with the rare breed court cases, because there are two major ones at play. One of which is in your favor that you can help support by supporting the National Association for Gun Rights. NAGR has partnered with Rare Breed Triggers in order to fight this lawsuit, and the lawsuit that is now filed as NAGR versus Garland, and it was filed in the Fifth Courts, just like the bump stock ban that was overturned, just like the brace ban that was overturned partly, at least with the injunction. And what they've asked for is injunctive relief for the company as well as all members of the organization of the NAGR. What that means is that if you are able to support the NAGR in their efforts against the government for the rare breed case and become a member today, you are in fact a member of the supporting organization that is suing the government for this injunctive relief. What that means in totality is if you are able to support as low as $15 towards the court case or towards the fight, then your membership is guaranteed into the NAGR. So in the event that if you are a member of the Fifth Circuit and you are a member of the NAGR and they are successful with this injunctive relief, you will be allowed to both own, use, and maintain your rare breed trigger. In the instance of what they're requesting, they're actually trying to say, we want to be able to continue to run our business, the rare breed triggers, rare breed firearms, while the courts are deciding whether or not the rare breed trigger is or is not a machine gun, which we know it technically is not. So what the court case is stating at the moment is that they are still relying on verbiage that was added in 2018 to basically reclassify bump stocks as a machine gun. Now, with the language used under this reclassification in 2018, they are able to then say that rare breed triggers functions as a machine gun due to the single pull of a trigger instead of using the word single function of the trigger. Now, Lawrence has done a great breakdown of why this is important over on his Vimeo channel, so I'm going to leave a link in the description to go watch his full report, as well as a link to be able to join the battle with the NAGR so that you can be protected. Now, if you've seen some of my recent postings, I have been posting about more exotic things like my venomous collection. We're big venomous keepers. We've got cobras, king cobras. We've got rattlesnakes and gaboons and adders, all kinds of really neat stuff. But the one thing that I wanted to showcase here is that as a member of that community, I have been through this previously in another lawsuit. In fact, it was the case of USARK, USARK versus the United States government when it came to a Lacey Act restriction that was trying to prohibit the interstate transport, aka transporting certain species of large constrictors from one side to another of a state line. And it was a egregious overreach on their part to be able to say that this was in fact controllable by the Lacey Act. As a result, when the injunctive relief was given to the USARK members, the clarification that was provided by the courts and used as precedents in cases like the brace ban and things of that nature is you needed to be a member of USARK prior to the injunctive relief being granted, meaning you had to be a member during the lawsuit. You had to be a member before the ruling in order for yourself to be protected and allowed to ship animals across or move animals across state lines or whatever it may have been. If you joined USARK in their fight after the injunctive relief was granted, you were not protected and you were not given the letter to be able to interstate transport those large constrictors. The same case is what's going on with the brace ban, and part of my discomfort right now with GOA and some of the other organizations that owners of America, since people don't like saying GOA for whatever reason, but the Gun Owners of America fight, which is a great fight and a good organization that you should support, but what they're doing right now, I don't agree with. They are misleading and misadvertising folks to say that if you join GOA now, you have protection in the brace ban. But unfortunately, it's not how the courts have interpreted that to be all-inclusive members. Members prior to the injunctive relief are who is going to be protected and allowed to maintain the use of their braces without having to follow the Form 1 protocols, the amnesty registration, or anything of that nature. If you join now, you do not have that protection. So be careful if you're posting anything online, on your Facebook, in WhatsApp groups, whatever, that has a link to the internet that showcases you using a brace and you are not part of that collective group that is allowed to be named in the injunctive relief. But here is your chance now to join the fight with NAGR against Garland, in this case, to be named as a member. In the highly probable but not necessarily guaranteed instance that they are successful in this injunctive relief, you want to be in that naming prior to the injunctive relief comes out. This means we can go back to filming FRT content if we can get our hands on one, right? This means that you can go back to filming WOT content if you can get your hands on one. But more importantly, it means that they will become available potentially again in the Fifth Circuit. So Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana, and a couple others I can't remember off the top of my head. But what this means is that if you go ahead and join now for as little as $15 donation into the NAGR legal fund, you guarantee your membership and you're supporting the cause. So guys, I want to encourage you to go out there, support NAGR. Those guys have done a lot for us, way more than the NRA junk organization that everyone is afraid of because they're pushing their agendas. Guys, this is the fight that we have been waiting on. Yes, the government is still going after rare breed firearms and the triggers for tax evasion, tax fraud, and all those cases that's still ongoing. So they're still fighting that lawsuit currently. However, if they are winning the case in the definition of a machine gun, it nullifies the case of tax evasion and tax fraud. Now, one last critical update for you guys that have not watched the Vimeo clip yet, but Lawrence was asked and clarified directly about what has happened to the customer list. Guys, if you read the agreement whenever you purchased, or maybe your friend purchased, or whatever, from Rare Breed Triggers, Rare Breed Firearms, back prior to 2022, it basically states that they anonymous records, or they will basically anonymize the records of purchase when they no longer were needed. Meaning once the purchase had gone through, shipment was made, and they no longer needed the explicit record that had your email, phone number, and address, those records were anonymized so that if they were ever basically taken under a subpoena or court order, they would not be available to them to be used against the customers. Now, we have seen door knocks, we have seen people coming after folks, and folks are kind of wondering, and we, the community, did put together exactly what was going on. Essentially, the courts were able to get a hold of the USPS records that showed every USPS package that had been sent out post 2022 at a certain time frame. I believe it was when the WOT triggers started being released by Rare Breed. So it was post that timeline. If you did get a WOT trigger or parts or anything from Rare Breed and it shipped to USPS, they have your information right now. You might want to be ready for a door knock, but remember, no warrant, no search, no admission of guilt. You don't have it anymore, but don't even say, don't lie, just don't freely give any information to them. They are not your friends, they're not here to help. Take the letter, ask if they have a warrant, send them on their way. That is the best advice that you can have right now, guys. The second part of that was some customers prior to that may still have customer information out there because the government is trying to obtain the records from UPS, which was the primary shipper during that timeline when Rare Breeds was sending out triggers during those big waves. Now, those records have been, I think, partly obtained, but they have not been released for use to the ATF as of yet. So that's what the ATF is hungry for. That's the list that they really want so they can go continue to do those door knocks. So guys, right now it is more important than ever for you to, again, support NAGR in their lawsuit against Garland and make sure that they do not win in the case. The court case is simple. They must accept the terminology that was used in previous rulings in the Fifth Circuits when it came to the brace or the bump stock ruling. The bump stock ruling set the precedents that they cannot and should not and cannot ambiguously define or defend their verbiage that was added in 2018, and this is critical. The courts simply need to acknowledge the same ruling that they gave bump stocks, and it all but guarantees that Rare Breed triggers will be successful in their fight. So help them be successful, help NAGR defend our rights, go give them a support, go donate 15, 30, whatever you can afford, but the base donation of $15 one time, guys, gets you in as a member this year. You are covered under that injunctive relief should it come. That's all I've got for you, and I hope we stand to fight another day. Thanks, guys.